local community to take ownership of the library space. And the challenge that Nicole and Anna were experiencing is that the space has already really been created, and now they're wanting to do a process of community ownership and community engagement. So some of the themes that have arisen is, number one, is there are some communities, and I'm sure it's the case in Nicole and Anna's, is that some people don't understand that there is a space available for them to even have ownership of, and so how do you address the issue of making people aware that that space exists? Number two is, since the community hasn't had core involvement in creating and visioning that space, what are ways of reaching those people outside of the community? And then the third area that's been discussed is, once you've reached people, how do you facilitate activities that really encourage a sense of ownership and responsibility for that space? So an example that we heard over here is perhaps facilitating. There was an activity where women would get their nails painted and they would tell their stories, and then the next group of women would come in from another part of the community. They would get their nails done, but they would be required to hear those stories. And over time, what the library did is it facilitated this process of knowing one another in a community that is otherwise quite diverse. One of the other example activities in terms of ownership is making it purely democratic, where you encourage the community to vote for the types of activities that ought to take place in that space. Come up with the ideas, vote for those ideas, and the library becomes responsible for delivering those activities through more of a democratic process. So those were sort of the themes that have arisen, is that what are specific activities that facilitate ownership, what are ways of reaching people who are in the community to just make them aware, and how do you find those places in the community to connect people with the library. So that's what we've gotten so far. Other ideas?
What are you writing?
I have something to...
Yes.
In Poland, we have one library who created a space